What's up, AG Sports? Sorry, guys, about the day off. Have a wife and kids. They also demand that I spend time with them, even though it's football season. I talk to them about it every year. They don't listen. But with that being said, they're out of the house today. We're back. Got some more stats for you. I have updated some things with the grading calculations. And I want to go over not only some more free picks, so that's first of all, but the changes to the grading algorithm, what it means, the power rankings, all that kind of good stuff. And then also I want to look at one other, another list of teams that are changing as far as like strength of schedule difficulties. Before we get into all that, before we can start with the football stuff, I just want to, give you guys two ads here, if you want to call them that. So one, if you read the information, like the About Me thing on YouTube, you're probably already aware my 9 to 5, my the how I got started and how I pay bills and things like that before gambling is stocks. Investment analyst, been in that field for years and years and years, basically since I've become an adult. But I typically do give out. It's hard to give out picks because of like regulations and licenses and things like that. I can't come out here and be like, "Hey, look, buy this," because if it doesn't work out, people get mad and companies get mad and all that kind of stuff. But I can give certain, pieces of advice. It's just kind of general information. One of the things I wanted to tell you guys is that this year I had been predicting a pretty big drop-off of the Dow to happen in September. All of my close friends and family and all that kind of stuff, I'd been telling them about it, selling them out of different positions and things like that. And it happened. September hit. Wasn't a crash, obviously, but we had huge down days where the Dow was down 900 points, 1,000 points, and we benefited from that either by playing the opposite or by just being out of the market for some people who were a little bit more conservative. And now we're kind of at that precipice where it is starting to go back up. There is still some down days and up days, and it's getting there. But really what I wanted to tell you guys is, again, just with the focus on the stock market. Because if you are a gambler, I can almost guarantee you that you are at least intrigued by the stock market. You might not know shit about it. You might not be in it right now. And you just kind of, hey, that seems like a good idea. I've seen The Wolf of Wall Street. I would like to do that. I'm cool with doing 2 years in jail for all the money. Cool. Really what I wanted to tell you, though, is that we are looking for the Dow to come back in a strong way as we get closer to the holiday season, specifically the week of Thanksgiving. That starts on November 22nd. Historically, that has been kind of the kickoff week for the Dow. And usually, just to kind of give you an idea of why and what happens here, that week we see a lot of money start coming into the Dow because a lot of people, obviously, are getting a paycheck, so that money gets put into retirement accounts and 401s and all that stuff, and that kind of bumps it up. But we start to see holiday spending and holiday bonuses and things like that coming in. Also, obviously, Thanksgiving is a holiday, so you have a lot of people either working extra time for those holidays or they're spending more money, and the companies kind of reap the benefit of that. And so every which way you have more money coming into the market, it helps. On that note, we start to see that increase right around that time. And that actually keeps us going all the way through the end of the year and really into the new year because of the same exact thing happening all the way through December. People are spending more for Christmas and holidays and things like that. Also, people are sometimes working more to pay for that, so they have a little bit of a bigger deposit in their 401ks and retirement accounts. Also, though, on top of all of those things, you have companies either getting ready for their end of year or preparing for their new year evaluations. And as you can imagine, at the beginning of the year, everything is the greatest ever. Now, next year is going to be our big year. We're going to put together millions and millions of dollars. It's going to be great. We're going to do more sales. Everything's recovering from COVID. It's all going to be awesome. All that kind of stuff. So you are going to see a big increase here. Like I said, the holidays almost always help with the Dow. And having so many holidays so close together with this, little bit of a recovery that's still going on, it's going to help. So if you have any interest in the stock market, if you are already in the stock market and you want to do something, you're not really sure what to invest in, even if you only have a couple of bucks, look to get involved with the Dow. Again, I can't tell you specifically, hey, go buy this particular stock or ETF or option or whatever. That's going to have to be on you. But I'm just telling you, this is about the time from that week of Thanksgiving through the beginning of the new year, we are looking to see a pretty big bounce or increase in the Dow. So, again, wanted to lead with that. On a more personal note, I guess for me, you probably don't know this because I don't really ever talk about it, but I have published 2 books. They are horror stories, and it just seems right with the time of year as far as like Halloween coming up and all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in scary stories, if you like reading stuff, if you maybe have older children, like at least teenagers or older, that might want some scary stuff, please take a look at these books. I wrote them. I still think they're really good. I'm just like a horror fan in general. So again, just seems like the right season. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because starting tomorrow and going through the weekend, both of these books will be free. Just go to Amazon and click on them. They'll be absolutely free. So just wanted to give you guys that heads up as well. I know I don't typically ask for a whole lot from the YouTube audience here, but if you guys do this, even if it's just taking the free book, I really do appreciate it. It really does help me out a whole lot. With that being said, though, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to get into the strength of schedule arguments. So first of all, this is the strength of schedule up to now from weeks 1 through 5. This is how everybody has played out. A couple of things I want you to take a look at here. The Dolphins and the Colts, first of all. So 2 teams that I think a lot of people are really down on, and they've been kind of shitting on so far. It's not just because these teams are bad, though, guys. These teams have had difficult schedules. They have played very hard defenses. They've played potent offenses. They just have gotten kind of the shitty end of the stick here with a lot of different teams that they've matched up with. Also, though, if you look at some teams that are actually doing decently or maybe not as good as we thought they would do, like the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. So these 2 teams, the Chiefs are doing, on paper they still look to be doing fine other than their defense, but we have not really seen the results that we thought we were going to see this year. But again, the Chiefs are still human. They're not immune to these difficult schedules. They're going to drop some games, and especially when everybody that you play has you circled. You are everybody's biggest game of the year. You're going to find it hard to keep these crazy win streaks alive. So, let's look at the Chiefs, the Seahawks, who, again, we thought were going to be, at least good. And they kind of go into that very difficult NFC West division, just as being another really good team in that division. But, they have not really produce as much as we thought they were going to, although they've still been a decent team. Buccaneers, again, they've also had obviously a good year so far, and everything looks fine, but a lot of people are starting to doubt their secondary because of the injuries that are just mounting up, and because Tom Brady has this like thumb injury that I guess people are talking about. I haven't seen enough of a change in his game in the last game, and I really haven't heard enough about it to make a big call on that one. And then lastly, the Chargers, guys. The Chargers have been just freaking awesome. The only loss they've had was to the Cowboys, and every team that plays the Chargers is going to play them the same way. They're going to try to be very run-heavy and take advantage of that. The problem is not everybody has Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. Not every team has Chubb and Hunt. Those teams are hard to find, and if you don't have elite running back talent, you're going to probably find a hard time trying to pass on the Chargers, not only because they have a decent pass rush, but because they have a good secondary. And if you have a good tight end that you're expecting to maybe keep the chains moving with, they will put Derwin James on his ass, and that's going to make it a lot harder. So, again, these are the teams I'm looking at right now because they have just had the hardest schedule so far. Let's take a look at what happens here through the rest of the year from week 6 through 18. And if you're not aware of this site already, this is sharpfootballstats.com. It's absolutely free. There is no sign up, no nothing to get involved in this. And it does have all sorts of crazy stats. Like he will show you your strength of schedule, your efficiencies. And this is actually where I get the EDSR numbers from. So if you're maybe thinking of making your own algorithm or you just want to know where I'm getting these numbers from, it is sharpfootballstats.com. Again, I love it. It is absolutely free, and there's so many different things you can get involved in here. You can really spend like a whole day just falling down the rabbit hole. But enough of being on his jock. Let's look at the rest of this. So from week 6 through 18, those teams that we were just looking at, Dolphins and the Colts, they go from having the two most difficult schedules to the two easiest schedules. So keep that in mind. These teams that we think are just not really good, they haven't been producing so far, they're about to have the easiest schedules in the NFL for the rest of the season. So also the Seahawks, another team that is just been kind of doing okay, kind of treading water, they're about to get a very easy schedule for the rest of the year. Same thing with the Buccaneers, same thing with the Chargers, same thing with the Chiefs. These guys are all going to have top 10 easiest schedules for the rest of the year. The Rams also have an easier schedule going forward. Now, it's not as easy. It's not a top 10, but it is right on the cusp of that. It's their 11th easiest schedule. So, if you haven't already placed some like playoff futures and things like that, you might want to look at it, because a lot of the teams that are doing really good so far are just going to get better, at least on paper. The Buccaneers, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Browns, the Rams, and the Bills. The hardest one is the Bills, and they have the 13th easiest schedule. All of those teams have easy schedules coming up, and it looks like they're going to be able to take advantage of that, assuming they can stay healthy. As far as betting is concerned, though, we really want to be focusing on maybe these top 3 teams here. These teams here are probably going to get overinflated. Anything from like the Buccaneers down to the Bills. Everybody knows they're good. There's not really any surprises there. If anything, we're just expecting them to beat the hell out of people that much worse as they get further into the season. But these 3 teams up here that have just been doing kind of okay or maybe worse than expected are going to see some regression come their way in a positive manner because of the strength of schedule. And so, like I had said this week, the Dolphins and the Colts, I said the Colts were the team to bet on this week. I did tease them down because the 9.5 is just it's a big number, or the 10 I think it's gone back up to now. Those are big numbers, and not to say that they can't cover it, but to ask the Colts to cover a double-digit game in their first, attempt at this easier schedule is a lot to ask still. That's a lot to say, don't give me the back door. And I just don't trust them yet. Maybe later on down the line, but 10 is just a really big number. So I teased it down, and when I teased it, it was at 9, so I teased them down to 3. If you're going to tease it right now, I mean, you're still going to get the 7 and the 6, but you're not going to get the 3, and the 3's really the most valuable number there, unless you're going to do a 7-point tease, which costs a lot. It's usually like minus 140, so that I will leave up to you. But the Dolphins, though, are in a really good spot. They are, again, just starting this easy schedule venture, and they are actually going to play the Jaguars, who are traveling to London. Now, the Jaguars are listed as the home team because they play in London so much. The person that does not go to London every time, though, is Urban Meyer. And I think if we go through John Gruden's emails now, there's probably a thank you email in there from Urban Meyer. And I think it reads something like, hey, thanks for getting the light off me, dude. I owe you, a couple of college chicks or whatever the hell they're into. He was the talk of the town last week. And even though maybe we have not talked about it so much and the media has kind of moved on from it, and obviously he didn't get fired, I think the team is still very much concerned with him. And they've actually had some quotes come out from other coaches on the Jaguars saying, like, yeah, we're really surprised he's still in that seat. And he hasn't done anything to really earn it just yet. All of that, guys, those are all bet against quotes. And the Dolphins are looking to get Tua back this week. They've actually looked okay on offense, even without Tua. They're going to get better with him. And to beat a team like Jacksonville, they don't need to do much other than just keep it clean. Don't kill yourself. Don't throw turnovers. Don't get a bunch of shitty flags. Just play a clean game. That's all they need to do to cover this spread. And it's only a 3-point spread. So this is definitely a bet on for the Dolphins. That's a full unit. That's one of my plays that I've added for this week. I'm grabbing it. Again, it's at -3 right now. And so it's probably at -3, really around everywhere that I've seen, and on OddsJam, things like that, everyone has it listed at about a -3. Aside from that, though, guys, I think those are the biggest changes for just kind of strength of schedule updates that we're going to have coming up. The next thing I wanted to go over, though, was the power rankings. So what have I done here? What has been changed with the grading algorithms? So the biggest change here is that I have found a different way or a different calculation to incorporate this defensive EDSR. I will just tell you right now, prior to this week, the EDSR on offense was heavily weighted, whereas the defensive EDSR wasn't so much. And that's because in most years and in most games, yeah, the defense does make a difference, but usually a good offense is going to beat a good defense. What I have seen, though, as far as just this year in particular, and every year there's at least one or two minor tweaks that need to be done to the grading algorithm, and that's not to say that it's inaccurate, but it's more to say that we need to keep evolving and changing as the teams and the NFL in general changes and evolves every single year. So what have I done? I have changed it to account more for this defensive EDSR as well in conjunction with the offense. So now it is more of like a true 50-50 split. Still a little bit more heavily weighted towards the offense, but I think that's just the NFL in general is going to be more heavily weighted towards the offense. But by doing this, it keeps teams like the Bills, who have an amazing defense and have really shown out on defense, up here in the top like 5, 6, 7 teams, where previously they were down at like 12, 13 because the defensive side of the ball just wasn't being taken into consideration. Or again, at least not enough. That all being said, that has changed. I have updated the EDSRs, I've updated the turnovers, the blitz rates, all that kind of stuff. And here are our new power rankings. And again, I'm not going to go over each single one. If you want to look through these, again, you can request a copy of this. It's all free, guys. I'm not charging for any of this stuff. Just like the books. It's all going to be free. Just be my friend, and I'll give you free stuff. That's how it works. At least that's what they told me. So, quick rundown here. The Rams, Buccaneers, Cardinals, Chiefs, Chargers, and Bills. That's our top 6 teams. Not really any surprises there. The algorithm is working the way we would expect it to work. I think the Chiefs are maybe the only, quote-unquote surprise, only because of their performances so far. And the other thing I would say is maybe that the Bills, a lot of people are going to say, hey, they're too low. They literally beat the Chiefs. Like, shouldn't they be ahead of the Chiefs? Well, again, keep in mind this is a little bit more weighted to the offense. So the Chiefs have the at least EDSR and on paper have the more successful offense. Secondly, though, one thing that really does weigh against the Bills in kind of an ironic fashion is that they do not have any one-score wins yet. All of the wins that they have come against teams that were probably a little bit easier. And secondly, they've been blowing out teams like crazy. And so because they have not proven that they can win a one-score game, it's going to hurt them in the algorithm. I know they're great, and I know that blowing out teams is a way to prove how good you are. But we do need to know that when it comes down to these nail biter games, and that you're going to win by 3, you're not going to win by 20. That you know how to do it, and more specifically, your coaching staff knows how to do it. They know how to manage the clock. They know how to manage their challenge flags. They know how to do everything in their power to get you in the best position to win these very tightly contested games. That win against the Chiefs, while yes, it was impressive, I'm not going to take anything away from them. Keep in mind, you're not going to always have an hour and a half long halftime break. You are not going to always have, very wet fields and slow conditions and things like that. So those do kind of go into this. Aside from that, the strength of schedule so far. Strength of schedule, the Bills have had the 17th easiest schedule, so like kind of halfway. The Chiefs, again, to date, have had the 30th easiest, which is the third toughest schedule in the NFL. So that also is in favor of the Chiefs. As far as expected points and things like that, that's all pretty much remained the same, so no difference there. But that's, again, our top 6. After that, though, we go to the next, I guess, like a second tier, the group down, which would be the Ravens, the Packers, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Bengals. The Raiders, again, it's hard to really say this is accurate without seeing them just yet. I still have John Gruden listed as a coach. That's, of course, not the case. I know they have listed an interim, but it just hasn't been updated just yet. But, again, we're going to have to see what this new interim coach wants to do. Does he want to play a very similar play style to John Gruden? Will he maybe put in a few new plays, a new playbook? Is he going to ask Derek Carr to do something different? Is he going to ask him to maybe check down more? Is the new interim coach going to try and get Jacobs involved more in the pass game? Just little tweaks like that where the team, obviously on paper, is still going to be the same, but the way that he uses the chess pieces are going to be a little bit different. The Packers, I think, they're not top 5, but I think they are still good enough to win against, bad teams, and that's really what we've seen them do. Saints, Cowboys, Bengals, all these teams are here. They're all, kind of the same silk. The Cowboys are the only ones that, they probably have a much better offense than most of these other teams. But again, now that we are taking the defense into account, that's kind of weighing them down because their defense, while it's been okay, it has not been great. And they are only 50-50 in one-score games. They've only had 2 one-score games so far, one against the Buccaneers, one against the Chargers, but they won one, they lost one. So hopefully they'll have some more opportunities to show us that they know how to win those games. We might see one this week, actually, with the Patriots, so we'll find out. Those are the top 12 guys. After that, again, it's up to you if you really want to go through these. I'll read them to you just for the sake of those who are not watching the video. Bengals, Broncos, Washington, Titans, the Panthers, the Seahawks, and the Dolphins. Then that goes into the Patriots, the Falcons, the Vikings, the Steelers, the Browns, the Colts, the 49ers, the Eagles, the Lions, Giants, Jaguars, Texans, Bears, and Jets at the very dead last spot, what's also known as DFL. That's how they all rank out, guys. The Browns, again, I think that's probably the only big surprise here is how low they got ranked, especially after having some pretty good showings. They have gone 1-3 in one-score games, so that's definitely going to hurt them. Also, last week, their defense just got obliterated over and over and over again by Mike Williams and the Chargers. Obviously, that's a harder matchup. You can't expect to shut out the Chargers, but it's still not a good sign. So I can almost guarantee that they are going to continue rising up these ranks as they go further into the season. But for right now, this is where they're ranked at, and they're going to have to prove it to us before we can move them up. That's really it as far as the power rankings. The last thing that I will say, guys, is that there is one more bet that I want to give out. It's a free pick for tonight, which is a prop bet. It's actually Quez Watkins over 40.5 yards receiving. I got it at Bookmaker at over 40.5. I have seen a few other books, and all the other books have it at 41.5, which again might not seem like a big deal, but if he lands on 41, I guarantee you're going to be pissed. Also, a lot of other books have the over 41.5 at minus 120. Bookmaker has the over 40.5 at minus 115. So if you don't already have a Bookmaker account, I would look to get one set up to take advantage of that. Just getting the better lines with those. Aside from that pick, though, and actually just a little bit into that pick, like I mentioned earlier, the Buccaneers are down just about all their corners. They're really banged up in the secondary. But the Eagles' secondary is not any good, even when they're healthy. The Buccaneers obviously have a great passing game. I'm fully expecting Chris Godwin to just have a blow-up spot here. Mike Evans is probably going to also look good in this one. Brady, yeah, he has a thumb injury. But from what I've heard, the little that I've heard of it, it should not be a big deal. It should still be able to get the job done here. And really, it's not going to take too much from him to get it done. He doesn't need to be passing. I mean, it'd be great if he could pass, a 50-yard bomb. But even if he's just hitting guys on like 10-yard slants, one of those guys is going to break it for him, and he can kind of rely on some of his receivers to get the yards after the catch to keep them going. That being said, the Eagles are going to need to answer back at some point, and I do think that they're going to be down big here, and I could probably see them being down big early, maybe even by like halftime, if Brady is, keeping the trains on time. So with that, Quez Watkins is a deep threat from the Eagles, and while the Buccaneers probably know that, and they're probably expecting a few big shots from him, there's not a whole lot they can do about it. They are going to have to worry about Devonta Smith, and he's going to get his work in underneath, so they can't just not put somebody on him or try and just focus on the deep shot. They also have to worry about Hurts running the ball, escaping the pocket, so you can't really just keep watching for Quez Watkins all night because he's going to get a big shot or two. They're going to have him in one-on-one coverage, and all we're asking is that Jalen Hurts gets the damn pass there without trying to drill it into the dirt, and Quez Watkins can come up with that pass. His over-under for receptions is actually 2.5, and I'm not really sure which way I would want to go with that, but that's why I'm sticking to the yards. Quez Watkins can get a 40-yard reception in one reception. That's all he needs to do, and we'll be good. And I do expect him to have, again, at least 1 or 2 big shots and probably like another 1 to 2 kind of medium range, like 10 to 15-yard catches, especially if they get down, especially if they're trying to kind of claw their way back into this one in the fourth quarter. I hope that you'll follow me on that pick. I hope that you learned something here for the power rankings, as well as the other pick on the Dolphins -3 at the Jaguars, or at London, but they're playing against the Jaguars. Lastly, guys, the Rams, I did finally grab them in my book here, and I got Rams -9.5. So as far as official picks, it is Rams -9.5 at the Giants. That line is actually at mybookie.com, or sorry, mybookie.ag, but it is a -110 number. So it's not the -115 some other books have for the -9.5. But I love the Rams, again, all the way up to 14 points. So it's a lot of value there. Rams -9.5 at the Giants. Wherever you can find it, just don't pay too much for it. That's it, guys. Again, thank you for sticking with me on this one. Look forward to speaking with you guys again and giving you some new info, whatever else may pop up between now and then. Have a great weekend and good luck.